Hello! Welcome to Bloodhouse, the show where we talk about art house horror movies. I'm your host, Joshua Conkle.
And I am your permitted Jesus freak hunter and co-host, Drusilla Adeline. Welcome to another week and episode of Bloodhouse.
We have a very special guest today. Her name is Ivory Woods. She is a stylist and what else are you? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, costumer, wardrobe, do a little bit of photography. Yeah, I like to work with old clothes.
And
I love
Renaissance
movies
woman.
and film, and yeah.
She also happens to be dating me, so that's a really good way of getting on the podcast for the listeners out there.
Look, I'm in it for the long con.
Yeah.
This was the goal.
She was a really big fan of Bloodhouse, and then she started to worm her way in.
You need to aim higher.
You're already taken, Josh, so how high else is there to go?
What's going on? How are you guys? What's going on?
I mean, I'm doing pretty well. I've been super overly booked and busy the past couple weeks, and I wish I could talk about the things that they're for, but I at least got to be doing some photo shoots recently, also with art.
Yeah, first photo shoot together, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Which is amazing considering both what we do. That should be happening more often. So that's going great. You're going off for a shoot soon, Josh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
more motion related.
Second short film, making it at a 100-year-old house in upstate New York with my best friend Megan, and it's been a lot of work, but really good. And actually, we're very privileged, but we have a pretty good budget for a short film, so we were very smart and we hired producers. It's the first hire was producers. So
that's very smart.
We still have to do some of that, of course, but it really freed us up to do the creative work. So I've been really happy about that, and I'll never make a short without producers again. Unless
highly
I have
recommend.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I'm very excited. I loved your last short, obviously, though I'm biased. But
yeah,
it made some top 10 lists last year.
It did. It made Steak Mountain's top 10 list, and it was in a lot of good festivals. Do you know what was interesting? Because it was a queer horror short, and my experience was not what I expected. I expected to be embraced by the queers and maybe not the horror, but it was actually just the opposite. I got into every horror festival and didn't get into some of the big queer festivals like Frameline in San Francisco and some others. It did get into some. It got into Outfest, of course, which is a biggie, and Toronto Inside Out, which is a biggie, but it was just surprising and not at all what I expected.
Yeah. I mean, you do at least get to say that you had a short play at maybe the last Outfest.
I know. Isn't that crazy? It feels so strange.
It's so bizarre. I literally, the other day was scrolling online and I got, an ad for an article from the LA Times being this famous institution of Los Angeles film history, this massive festival, is disappearing, and here's why, here's what they've done to it. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, Outfest is, the whole industry is now yeah, they're gone.
It's such a bummer. My friend worked at Outfest, and a month after the festival was over, they opened up this grant for queer film producers that I applied for, and then all that stuff went down. And I saw through her what she was going through, and I was like, "Please retract my name from this application. It feels like not a good time for this." But yeah,
it's really unfortunate. I hope that something happens with it, but I'm not holding my breath.
Even selfishly, I mean, it felt important to have had a film at Outfest for me, and it feels really shitty for that to not mean anything because it no longer exists or is corrupt in some way. It's a bummer.
Yeah, it sucks. Have you been watching anything lately, though?
Yes, and actually, it's relevant to this episode because this is something I've talked about a little bit. But I have been playing D&D since I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And what is out there now is 5th edition D&D. So what I've been playing for the past few years is early 80s old school D&D, which is way more metal and more dangerous and just darker all around. And so on all of these D&D podcasts, all these old school D&D podcasts, I've been hearing people talk about a cartoon that I'd never heard of called Thundarr the Barbarian, which is from the early 80s, and it lasted 2 seasons. It is fucking rad. And you'll see, if you ever see like an image from it after we talk about the movie, you'll see why it's relevant. But basically, it's like a fantasy show that's set in 2,000 years in the future, and Earth has been completely destroyed and a new society has grown out of it. So it's sort of like Conan the Barbarian, but there's all these sci-fi elements, and it's like He-Man, and it's so fun. And I don't have any...
It's like Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, Warner Brothers produced it. It's so cool. The aesthetic of it is so good. And I've been taking a lot of inspiration for it as I plan my old school D&D campaign.
Fuck yeah.
Because I haven't really had a lot of time to watch movies or TV shows. So I just sort of put this on the background as I work. And it's been the background of my life, Thundarr the Barbarian.
Wait, I'm like looking at stills while you're talking about this. Does Thundarr the Barbarian fight the Statue of Liberty at one point?
Yeah, so it's post-apocalyptic, not like a fantasy land. So the places they go are like Las Vegas, London,
This
New
is
York.
awesome.
Yeah, I watch it on YouTube. It's super rad.
Oh my god, and definitely not them just reusing the animation from other Hanna-Barbera shows for them to be in the buggy from Speed Buggy.
That's the thing I love about Hanna-Barbera. Like, there's so much overlap.
Yeah,
they're the best.
The different shows.
Yeah.
Everything always looks the 60s. There's always like 3 teenagers that vaguely look like Scooby-Doo teenagers and some kind of a talking sidekick.
Like the Flintstones and the Jetsons look like they take place in the same universe.
Yeah, just 2 years apart.
Yeah. So that's me. What about you guys?
I mean, it's been a lot of TV lately because a lot of the movies we've been watching have been Bloodhouse movies.
That's true. And, well, we watched the short, The Snails, from the director of was it Forbidden Planet?
Yeah, L'Escargot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things we've watched recently.
Ooh, I love Fantastic Planet.
René Laloux and Roland Topor, who wrote Josh's favorite movie, The Tenant. Who loves that movie so much.
She's being
facetious. Will never die.
But the short is fantastic. Highly recommend.
The short is fantastic. It's also very sci-fi, and it feels like it's like a 15-minute long.
Yeah, it's super short.
Definitely still looks and feels a lot like Fantastic Planet if you've seen it. But it's super funny, and it also feels like France parroting old American like 50s like atomic age monster movies. Because it's like a little farmer and his like lettuce crop that he grows outrageously large until the snails start eating it, and then there's giant snails paving through the city. There's literally a scene of like a hot lady like undressing in her little like boudoir window as like a little snail eye stalk peeps up through the window and back down.
Snails.
All just to go eat and gobble up people. It's really beautiful. It's really like weirdly political for like a 10-minute funny short. It's great. It's on the Fantastic Planet Blu-ray, and it's also streaming.
Oh, it is? I have that.
Yeah.
It's on Criterion as well. Okay.
Yeah. We honestly have been doing a lot of our mornings because we'll have like breakfast together before I have to go do work or something like that. Usually we'll just like watch cartoons or like an episode of a show we're watching. But lately, since around New Year's, we've been starting our days by just going through there and being like, what's a fun short? So we've been doing
Criterion short films.
Criterion short films over breakfast. It's been super fun. They've got a lot of Suzann Pitt on there too.
Oh, cool.
I'd only ever seen Asparagus, and we also watched Crocus recently, which is like
What's
also a Suzann Pitt animated short from the 70s. That's literally just like a woman's nighttime ritual of like getting undressed, having sex with her husband, having to stop having sex with her husband to go like take care of the crying kid down the hall, come back to have sex with her husband. It's really beautiful.
That sounds like Jeanne Dielman, but short.
Yeah.
But when the short is about 10 minutes,
yeah,
like 3.5 hours.
Yeah. When you said doing her nightly routine, I thought you meant like skincare, like, which I was like really excited for because I weirdly love watching those Vogue skincare videos on YouTube where it's like Julianne
early
Moore.
vlogger stuff. Like
yeah, animated, of course. How vloggers started in the 70s.
Influencer.
Oh my god. Yeah. I'm saying that we've also been watching a lot of The Bear because apparently 2 years in, I'm finally caving. and listened to Popular Demand. And yeah, it's shockingly very good and makes me miss Chicago a lot.
I can't stop thinking about The Curse, too.
Oh yeah,
Oh my God,
I mentioned.
I just finished The Curse last night, and it's so incredible.
I mentioned this a few weeks back. I've been waiting for Josh to finally finish it. The Curse has been nonstop in our house every single day since then. I would tell Ivory in the morning that I'm so glad I didn't wake up on the ceiling.
I know, every day. I'm thankful.
All the time in my brain. I'm like, oh yeah,
that happened.
It's like one of my great irrational fears now because of that.
Mm-hmm. Literally while watching it, I was like, this is, this is something I've never thought about, and now I'm deeply afraid of this ever happening to me because Nathan Fielder scared me too bad.
I love the way that show jumped from like all the episodes being about like a social uncomfortability to the last episode just being like a surreal horror masterpiece. Is just mwah.
Yeah.
Benny Safdie's performance at the end, just crying on the sidewalk.
God, that show is good.
So good.
I wanted to say that we got a really interesting email from a listener who's a therapist about our episode on safe, because we had a lot of criticisms for wellness culture and the way that people have like kind of weaponized mental health speak. And he said something really interesting to me, which is that, so part of that movie obviously has to do with affirmations and telling yourself affirmations in a mirror, which was a huge fad at various points and something people still do. But he said that studies are showing that affirmations are actually bad for people in a lot of cases, because if you don't believe the affirmation, you're essentially just lying to your own face over and over and over again. So for instance, if I were to tell myself every day, like, I don't know, something that's not true, like, I am blonde or something. That's a bad example, but I have black hair. So that would be a lie. And eventually that makes you feel bad because you're lying to yourself. But it can be good if it's like something that you do believe or you believe could be possible, like I deserve love or something like that. But they have what they call like bridge statements now, where it's like, I don't know, if you like in my example, if I said the affirmation, maybe I could someday be blonde, then that's better. That could like get you there. But actually it's like psychologically damaging to do affirmations that you don't believe.
Yeah, I
just thought that was like interesting.
CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, a few years ago, and I am still in therapy, and I am very proud of this fact, and therapy is good and great, and you should find a therapist that works for you and all of that, and use code
Better help. Betty Arbuckle put on his mittens.
Anyway, I also love that show. I'm not shading at all.
Yes.
However,
we love Karina Longworth.
One of the best parts of that is like breaking down like the statements that you tell yourself in your head. And my therapist would be like, make me write stuff down, like journaling, and then read it back to her. And was like very, very important on like, your brain is going to be telling you things that are not true. And you have to like break that down into bridge statements, more or less like that, into being like, I'm afraid that like this person is going to freak out at me over this thing. And it's like, no, I am concerned that this might be a situation that might happen because this thing has happened to me in the past, or X, Y, or Z, whatever like that. You like, it's all about grounding things in reality as much as possible, because our brains will inherently spiral all the time, and lying to yourself only feeds that. Worse?
Yeah.
Not great.
Yeah.
Safe is an incredible indictment on a lot of things. I love that movie so fucking much.
Charles Melton just shouted it out in his Criterion Closet video that came out this week, which is great.
He shouted out a few Bloodhouse movies.
Yeah.
I love him just seeing Kier and go, Kier! And then pulling up. He's adorable.
Anyway, I thought that was interesting, and we always love getting people's emails about our episodes, so keep them coming.
I was very worried when you said that we got a letter from a listener who's a therapist, that I was like, oh no, what did he figure out about us?
Imagine being a therapist and just sending in like things to podcasts you listen to, like, you should check into this.
That's Fraser Crane energy.
Yeah. Today we are here to talk about a very special movie. It's one of Ivory's favorites, I understand.
Absolutely.
And she picked it. It is a movie from 2018, directed by Panos Cosmatos, Mandy.
Under the crimson, primordial sky, the wretched warlock reached into the dark embrace. His fist closed around the serpent's eye. Strange and eternal.
I need you to get me that girl I saw. You know what to do.
So Ivory, get close to the mic and tell us all about Mandy and how you first saw it and why
My
you love
story
it.
with
And all
Mandy.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was a friend that recommended it to me. And I remember watching this during like the lockdown phase.
Mm-hmm.
Late at night, alone in my apartment, just like blaring on my TV, and it changed my brain chemistry. I feel I love this film so much.
There's a lot of Mandy
girly
merch in our house.
Yeah, I'm currently wearing my favorite Mandy shirt. Drew joked about me. Should I wear I have a Mandy hat?
I have a Mandy shirt. Like, we also have one of the like Gone In Mandy prints from Deadly Prey Gallery.
Yeah.
In our bathroom.
Yeah, we have a Mandy VHS.
There's a lot of Mandy in the house. I think I've got like a lapel pin of the axe.
Yeah.
That axe
Mandy
is
rocks.
so cool. We'll talk about
So
that.
Beautiful.
This movie makes me feel weird because it's kind of the only movie that, in a weird way, it speaks to my childhood because I grew up white trash. And we've talked on the show a lot about how when people depict the 80s, it's always neon. But really, if you were there in the early 80s and if you weren't rich, like everything was just brown from the 70s still. So everything in this movie is like brown and has like sort of a 70s vibe, even though it's 1983. Also, I grew up amongst rockers, which the characters are in this, and the D&D thing is relevant because one of our main characters is a fantasy illustrator and author, and so like that artwork was really formative for me. And my mom read fantasy novels, so all of those great 80s fantasy covers that would always have like like a big tittied barbarian woman and then like an animal man next to her.
Like
and
the airbrush side of the van.
Yeah. So there's like a weird comfort to this movie for me, just based on this.
So the house that I grew up in was built by like my great grandparents, but the last time it was renovated was like the 70s. So we had like the brown and orange shag carpeting with like the wood panel walls that were eventually just painted over orange.
Yeah.
So I definitely, I'm right there with you.
It's so, the first like hour of this movie is very cozy. It's just like, this is their life together. And it's
cozy in a
pretty idyllic. David Lynch movies can be cozy.
Yeah.
It's very
yeah, it's like very droning and like hypnotic, and it's like Drusilla's favorite movie, Under the Skin. It's got a tone.
I like the turnaround there. That's fair. But like up until things go tits up, it's a pretty ideal life that they have. I mean, he flies out in a helicopter every now and then to chop down trees, and then he comes back home to his girl.
That's a great segue to synopsis.
They watch movies.
Like relate to Mandy too, because she's just this like homebody who loves art and like heavy metal music, and
she sits around in her glasses and her Motley Crue shirt all day working on like cover designs. I have no idea what that's like at all.
That was the other weird thing for me, is she looks exactly how my mother looked when I was little. My mom has long black hair, big old glasses, t-shirts and jeans, and is often like a rock and roll t-shirt. She loves fantasy novels. She looks exactly like Teresa Conkle in 1983 looked. It's just so wild to me. Synopsis wise, this movie stars Nicolas Cage as a man named Red. It is 1983. They live in the Shadow Mountains. He lives with his wife or girlfriend, I don't think it says, Mandy. He is a logger. She works at a gas station as a cashier, but is also a fantasy illustrator and author. And one day Mandy is walking down a dirt road and a cult drives by. The cult leader catches eyes with her, becomes obsessed with her, hires a weird biker gang that may or may not be demons or some sort of supernatural. This is a hard movie to talk about in this literal kind of way. This biker group goes and kidnaps Mandy. And then, some tragedies ensue. And then Nicolas Cage enacts revenge in sort of like a gonzo second half. That's the movie in like terms of plot in its simplest form. And I don't know if you guys would want to change anything there, amend, but
no, that's pretty good. It is kind of hard to discuss in a literal way, like
it's not a literal movie
because this movie and it's very about the style of the film too, which is like,
I think the style of this movie could not be improved upon.
Agreed.
The hill that I will absolutely die on is that Mandy is an art film.
It's absolutely an art film.
It is
absolutely
like the highest, most beautiful. And that's what, like, I've always been such a big, like, David Lynch fan and that kind of thing. And just seeing, but I also love, like, really hard, heavy horror movies. And seeing this movie that, like,
folds them in.
It really is the perfect mix of, like, high art, surrealist beauty.
Because, like, narratively, it's the only thing I can compare it to closely is, like, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, the Sam Peckinpah movie, which is also like first half, you're just like hanging out with Warren Oates and his girlfriend on a trip down to Mexico. And then the back half is just like gonzo hell, slow-mo killing all over the place. But with like the visual language of Dario Argento, like at the peak of his powers.
Yeah, well, and like, kind of like Bava shots too, with like the single color. Like wash of like a whole, just scenes will be shot in fully red or fully green.
And you just get like a secondary complement of yellow coming in from the side. It's
the colors are outrageously good. The color grading is so beautiful. They add a certain amount of like film stock, but not in that tacky kind of, Quentin Tarantino way. It doesn't try to look like a film from the 70s, but it calls back to those movies without actually being one in a way that's like pretty sophisticated.
It's still very slick and modern.
Yeah, it dips into animation occasionally and even stop motion animation for an awesome bit.
And that's why I brought up D&D earlier, is because this movie is the only horror movie that I could think of that is really, it's giving Heavy Metal Magazine, it's giving first edition Dungeons and Dragons, like it does have this like fantasy element that I love.
Well, there's so many of the like shots at the end that he does these like wide, like establishing shots of like a scene, and it literally looks like it would be airbrushed on the side of someone's van.
Yeah,
absolutely.
With
like a big tittied barbarian woman.
Yeah, and there's like this shot of like the tiger with the moon behind it. Like it straight up looks like airbrush illustrations.
It is giving Player's Handbook, Dungeons and Dragons 1978.
It's like from my lens of things, I love the original poster for this movie by Christopher Shy, the like kind of like purple and red like triangle of like the whole cast and stuff like that. And there's been like a myriad of fan art for this movie over the past 5 years it's been out. But weirdly, no one has done that kind of like Dungeons and Dragons Frenzetta like airbrush kind of take on this movie.
Someone buy me a van and I will commission someone to do Mandy art on the side.
Yeah, like you've got the tiger, you've got the chainsaw duel, you've got all of this, you've got the multiple planet kind of in the sky, you've got like these demon bikers, and you've got gorgeous Mandy to look over all of it while Nicolas Cage is fucking unhinged.
I mean, I would be shocked if heavy metal wasn't one of the primary inspirations from this. And I don't mean the music genre, I mean the magazine and the film Heavy Metal. Yeah.
Love that movie so
it just looks so much like heavy metal come to life in this movie. Right down to their like Black Sabbath t-shirt. It's like they're wearing the rocker t-shirts, and then you've got the mix of like modern and fantasy, which was very popular with heavy metal. You get your biker gang in all leathers that are sort of like the cenobites in a way. And
when we were discussing this too, I had one of my thoughts on the cenobite bikers ish. It's like them, but like muddy. They're like muddy, trashy.
They're also like always lit in pure black, so you can only really see their silhouettes.
See any of it.
Oh my God, I had to turn up the brightness on my TV so much because I was like, I literally cannot see anything in this goddamn movie. But it's fine. What is your feeling about that biker gang? So so this cult hires this biker gang to come and get Mandy and kidnap her. That all kind of goes to shit, and then he enacts revenge on the biker gang so they can get revenge on the cult that sent them. But they play like the cenobites on motorcycles to me, but the movie also treats them like they could just be real people in a normal gang. So
I love how this movie balances like an interpretation of the events as being real, but also viewing it through a potentially like mystical or supernatural lens. Because they call the bikers initially by like blowing on a fife. Like,
yeah, there's like
he blows a little melody in a flute, and then they're like, wait for it, they'll come.
The movie has like literally magic items from D&D. It's like blow on the horn of Azabar or whatever, and that's what caused this cult.
Nicolas Cage gets
him forging the weapon.
Like, he gets Christ
very
gutted in one scene, and the guy is like, "This is the sword of Nebulon. It has come from the fires of Azeroth."
The
and you're like,
plane.
And it's got like the green key light on it.
Oh my god!
I mean, it's very D&D that stuff.
But then you also get like Bill Duke in a trailer, which also fuck yeah, Bill Duke.
Yeah, right.
Talking about like the like real life lore about this biker gang running drugs for like a chemist making acid who like cooked up a special dose for them and they haven't been right since, and the idea that like they've been mutilating their own bodies and stuff like that because they're like
very Cenobite once again.
Very Cenobite.
They're like the Cenobites as if they were like coming out of a George Miller Mad Max movie or something.
Yeah, they're like
they
the Hell's Angels become Cenobites kind of. It's sort of like, because Mandy loves fantasy so much, it sort of feels like he, as he loses his mind, is kind of like dropping into a Mandy fantasy landscape of some sort.
Yeah, I think by the end too, he's like kind of entering her world. Like,
right.
He becomes the characters that she reads about. He speaks less the more the movie goes on. And like he's actively talking with her a lot in the first half, always about her interests. We will learn almost nothing about him.
Yeah.
But then by the back half of it, like the landscape starts to change, his behavior starts to change, his clothes start to change.
Yeah. He levels up his armor.
Yeah, he levels up his armor. He like takes potions.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He gets his little cocaine level up like Harley Quinn, and then he, like this, and then the great thing that like really moved me the first time I saw it was the final shot where they kind of pan out and reveal that the sky is even like
there's like 3 suns and these jagged fantasy
the world
mountains.
has changed at this point.
I always took it as a very kind of like, I don't know, like soft spiritualist vision that like the soul of Mandy has kind of taken over the back half of the movie. I mean, we're talking about this movie, it's been out for a while, spoiler alert. Mandy doesn't survive past the hour mark.
No.
Well, that's where the film changes. That's like the mark of like, the film.
But it also like, it doesn't revel in the pain of her dying. It takes a very like somber look at it, the last we actually see of her.
And I think what's really beautiful in that moment too is that like when all of that tragedy happens, all we're hearing is music.
Yeah.
The Johan Johansson
we're seeing
score.
Screams and we're seeing all of that, but all that we're hearing is music.
Yeah, it's very melancholic, and the movie's very much in that half from the view of Nicolas Cage and this very romantic, melancholic view of the situation. It feels like the second half after Mandy's death is from Mandy's perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. That's
which
an
is
interesting
insane.
take.
It feels like this is all being like, or the whole second half could be like Mandy's fantasy about him getting revenge for her or something like that.
Yeah.
It feels like an afterlife by the end of the movie.
I like to think that she sucked them all into her world. Mandy's revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
She burned bright.
She sure did. You mentioned the score by Johan Johansson. I think I read that this was his last score before he passed away.
There's an in memoriam for him in the credits.
They dedicated it.
It's truly remarkable.
It's very good. Yeah. Incredible. Speaking of music, though, there's the great scene when the cult leader has stolen Mandy away and they've drugged her, which is really cool. They use a bug to drug her.
With the giant
wasp in a honey jar. Okay.
Yeah. So they sting her with this thing that makes her high, and so she's talking to the cult leader who's naked, and he plays her his record, which is like a psychedelic folk record that's so bad, and it's so clever that Johan Johansson could write like a purposely bad folk song. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
it's like
so
watching
bad.
acting do bad acting in films.
That's one of
Yeah.
my passions, is like
agree.
good bad acting. So that's what they're doing through music, and Mandy laughs at him because she's high, and so he's like, he goes from being in love with her to like murdering her essentially, and so he's such a good character, the cult leader.
I will also say, on rewatching this, I only just now struck by like the era that this movie came out, because this was like one of like 3 or 4 non-fiction movies that were made that were weirdly dealing with the Manson murders at the time, because this comes out and there's a very like kind of nebulous connection of like, oh yeah, hippie Jesus freak cult where the leader used to be a musician who has a folk career. So there's a Charles Manson view. But then you also get Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which came out like the year later, which is also overtly dealing with Manson. And then you also get, from the same year as Mandy, Bad Times at the El Royale, which also is like kind of like a Coen Brothers thriller that then ends in a like, he's not Charles Manson, but he might as well be.
There was also a hit book like a year before called The Girls by Emma Cline. That was like a fictional version of the Manson girls. That was like a huge #1 bestseller.
Well,
so
when was
like
that Aquarius show? Too?
The David Duchovny Aquarius show was a few years before that. It was like 2 or 3 years before that.
So it seems like it was in the air in the 2010s for a number of years.
I was trying to think about that while watching it last night. Why we were so Manson and cult minded from like 2017 through 2019, and the only thing that I can think of is Trump.
I think that's true, but I think it also has to do with how popular things like crystals and tarot and astrology and all of that stuff.
True crime.
It feels
there's like new cult documentaries every day. Like,
I mean, Josh and I literally just both watched one a few weeks ago.
I love cult documentaries, and it is true that the pandemic caused a lot of new cults, because there was a time when I was texting. I have a text chain called Murder Muffins with 2 friends that we love murder documentaries and cult shows, and I was like, I think we've run dry of cult shows. This was like in 2019. I think we've done every cult, and then the 2020 and so on pandemic unfortunately caused a lot of new cults. But I think that all of this stuff, like the Manson kind of stuff, is sort of a dark side of like the new age spirituality stuff, maybe. Is my read on it?
Absolutely.
I also appreciate from a like 1980s satanic panic perspective, because like the way that this movie telegraphs to you at the beginning that it's the 1980s is that you have Nicolas Cage hearing like a Reagan address on the radio before he turns it off. Outside of King Crimson's opening song. And then you get the title card that it's 1983 AD. But like it really feels, since like our main characters are like metalheads and she's wearing Black Sabbath t-shirts and Shout at the Devil t-shirts, that it really feels like a critique on the satanic panic culture that was like heavy metal's the devil, fantasy books, D&D, all of that, like you're gonna get possessed by Satan and all this stuff. Meanwhile, there was the like 1980s like yuppie big chill view of like all those hippies, they've got corporate jobs now and they all voted for Reagan. And it's
Which
like, no, the hippie Jesus freaks are the insane murderers. Yeah.
I mean, I guess
Amongst
that's
your
probably
friends, hippies are the devil.
Probably why this movie looks so much like my childhood is because it's true that a lot of hippies became like yuppies, but not everyone did. I mean, there are a lot of hippies that just remain poor for their entire lives. So
my parents
are like this too. My parents are these people, so that, these are older people. They're not young and cool. It is the 80s and they're still stuck in the 70s in a way. And so, I think it does speak to the Reagan years from a sort of boomer perspective. And boomers get a lot of flack, and that's justified, but there's a lot of cool boomers who did really cool things, and there's a lot of big important cultural shifts that come from them, and I don't know, I feel bad for them sometimes.
I will also say, speaking of like communities that we love to shit on, that this movie kind of upends. As bad as some nepo babies may be, Panos Camados rocks. His dad
he a nepo
directed.
baby?
He's a nepo baby. His dad
We've got
made
2 nepo babies in this film
Well,
that I think both
Nicolas
deserve
Cage.
their fame.
Oh yeah, Nicolas
Panos'
Cage.
dad directed Tombstone
Oh
and
really?
Cobra.
Holy cow!
Yeah, he
Wow.
was like a big action director in the 80s and 90s.
Well, I think Panos is better, and he definitely
Yeah.
learned some things from watching those action films. Though there's a lot of
Yeah,
good
you can
action
tell.
sequences in this.
I mean, he just wholly lifts the chainsaw fight from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and drops it in the end of this movie. And it works, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's super awesome.
The back half of this is just purely an action movie when he's getting revenge on Mandy, and like he forges this badass heavy metal axe. He goes and kills all the members of this bicycle gang, which are all in like sort of Judas Priest type leather outfits, and then he goes on to kill all the members of the cult. And there's a lot of set pieces, and it's very action packed and very gory. And to me, I wish that this movie were a little shorter because it is 2 hours long, and I wish that more of the front half for like the back half. There's a part of me that's just like
I wish it was longer. It could be 3 hours.
The vibes are really immaculate, but I
like
that
the switch of like going from like that slow droney first half into and I kind of like some movies that like make you wait for it too, like that'll like, you got to kind of sit with it for a little bit.
I do too. I like a slow movie a lot, and I like a payoff. I guess just part of me feels like there could have been micro cuts throughout the movie to make it like 20 minutes shorter, but I don't know. He does know what he's doing. Like, who am I to criticize Panos?
I mean, there's a lot of
really
things in it
director.
that I've heard people say are extraneous. Of like, you have again a sign of a good movie. Richard Brake is in it. Who's like,
yes, in a fantastic scene, one of my favorite scenes.
I've heard a lot of people be like, you don't need that scene. Cut the chemist scene out.
Nope.
Like,
yes, you do.
It's great. And then the other thing that I've heard people say is like extraneous because it just becomes a meme is the Casper Kelly produced Cheddar Goblin.
Oh yeah, we can't talk about this film without discussing the Cheddar Goblin.
I mean, kids and goblins agree.
I really think like in that moment, because in that part of the film, we're coming off of like the defining tragic event of the film,
the most devastating moment of the
he
movie.
walks into the TV playing this really absurd mac and cheese commercial, and it's so like jarring. I think it's such a like beautiful way to like throw you back into something else. Like
it really feels like, that like cold bucket of water.
Yeah, exactly.
Following, which is very a very grounding, realistic moment, but also it also feels like one of the first like dips
like
into
this?
surrealism. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some really good TV parts. I love like there's a genre show where someone gets fried with a laser gun. There's like the 80s porn that the biker gang is watching.
Yeah.
There's like
I love that. And I love how small the TVs always are.
Yeah.
Just these like little...
Yeah, the monitors are tiny, but the boxes the TV's in are gigantic. God bless the 80s.
There's some great set design in this.
Is amazing, though.
The set design is amazing. The bathroom where
Nicolas
Cage
oh my
I
God,
was just going to say the Nicolas Cage's bathroom is so good.
That I'm so deeply jealous of.
It's like brown and yellow, like sunflower wallpaper, and
you've got the like fur on the toilet,
and then avocado green trash can.
Yeah,
the whole thing is carpeted. Then on top of that, like little rugs.
Yeah, that scene is like a really pivotal point. Again, it's like right at the midpoint of the movie, because it doesn't look or feel like any other part in the movie. It's the whole thing is such a very composed, like Argento, Lynch, Bava kind of camera work where everything is like on a dolly, everything's very specific, everything's like pushing in, moving around, everything's very elaborately planned out, like dark, lots of colored lighting. And then when Nicolas Cage walks into the bathroom, it is bright as hell. It feels like TV lighting. It feels like a set to a little bit of
Yeah.
a degree.
We're locked into like the exact size of the room.
Yeah.
Like,
And the camera pushes in and pulls out occasionally, but it feels like the camera doesn't know what to do, and it feels like the camera's afraid of Cage.
Yeah.
And it rocks. It
love that
really
scene.
is unsettling, and it's very like great way of like putting a line in the sand and marking the difference in the character.
This
and the narrative.
rewatch, I actually noticed how different I felt watching that, and how much I like noticed the camera movements, and it kind of made me like,
It's unsettling.
well, it made me like aware of myself within the situation in a weird way that I really think is like a very interesting thing to do, because you're just like moving, but then it just starts to slowly close in on this man in this moment that is truly horrific.
Fashion. This is kind of a fashionable movie too. I mean, that aesthetic, this sort of trailer trash, for lack of a better word, vintage aesthetic was kind of going around at that time. She wears the big glasses that people call them serial killer glasses or Jeffrey Dahmer glasses. Mandy wears those sometimes, and it made me think actually of like the Lana Del Rey Ride video, which has bikers in it and sort of this white trash aesthetic. At the same time, the Kanye West, Kim Kardashian video for Bound, where they're driving through the desert on a motorcycle. So this like American West sort of trailer trash vintage chic was definitely having a moment. And this is like right in that spot. It looks great.
Yeah, I feel like it's still having a moment.
Oh, it is.
Like,
Yeah, it is.
Like,
yeah.
We're still
people
there
are
for sure.
always trying. It's funny because that's how I grew up, and I just grew up in like old T-shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see now people like taking that aesthetic.
We were
Yeah.
Pretty
literally
widely.
at like a thrift store in Burbank a few days ago, and I like saw a t-shirt on the rack where I was like, that's so funny. Like, this is like one from the 80s with like some like band on it that I was like, no one knows about this band, no one cares about this. This is a really funny shirt. And I looked at the tag and it was like $275. And I was like, why is this on the rack at
It's
that
funny.
price? What are you doing?
There is like a movement in the fashion world to shop more vintage, and a movement away from fast fashion, which is so bad for the environment and blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yes, like I live right by the Silver Lake Fleet, and there are things that are vintage now that I was an adult for. So like I wasn't even a little
which
kid.
it is. I guess that's another note on what I sell vintage clothing, but I do like 60s and 70s focus
Right.
stuff. So
But
like
I
to
see-
me, that's vintage. But
Technically,
no,
Ed
Charlotte Russe, like that's not.
Technically, Ed
Yeah.
Hardy shirts from the early 2000s are vintage because they're
It's
over 20 years
wild.
old. And so you'll see
Seeing,
those for like
like
$100
the
a
fucking shirts that I saw kids wear when I was a fucking child with fucking Yosemite Sam and Tweety Bird.
Oh yeah,
on
like
them.
the Looney Tunes,
Like
Oh, the
now
ones that would
being
be
sold
like
for like
Bugs Bunny with sagging
$300 at
pants.
the like old Kmart Looney Tunes shirts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's grim.
It's so
what
weird.
in
And
fuck?
I hate a lot of the Y2K fashion that's in right now. Like the wraparound sunglasses are so gross.
Yeah.
I cannot
I
stand
Hard
them.
agree.
I hate bucket hats with
Bucket
my
hats
soul.
are terrible. Hate them. Some of it I don't mind, but those two things I just
Unless
can't.
you're in a K-pop band, you can't get away with wearing a bucket hat. I'm so sorry.
Well,
Well,
you're Brad Pitt. Your
Okay,
favorite.
Brad Pitt can get away with it in Bullet Train. Other
Well,
than that, no.
Now that we're in 2000s fashion as nostalgia, I think next I'm hearing that we're going to go into the indie sleaze aesthetic, which I think is great. Like the like New York 2000s nightlife look where it's like cocaine and shaggy black hair and just being trashy and horny all the time. And
That's definitely already
things in this
happening.
movie.
It's already happening with like photography styles.
yeah, exactly.
Like that's really popular again.
Yeah, there's a lot of the like fucking like,
Party
late
photography.
night, early 2000s kind of like flash
So,
bulbs
yeah.
and shit
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
looks
it.
great. I'm into that to a degree.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
some of
better
the
than
shit that we
bucket
just
hats and wraparound glasses.
Well, and like the big chunky shoes and like it's I don't know.
Yeah, but people are too cowardly to do the like cropped polo shirt over the extra long tank top.
Yeah.
That was all
Oh,
that,
That was
era.
major. That was major at that
Yeah.
era.
Or they're like wearing like a like dress over jeans.
Yeah, dress over jeans. Yeah,
Totally. That was a big when I was in college in the early 2000s. This movie, speaking of D&D again, like it's set in the Shadow Mountains, which I never heard of. And so I Googled. So Shadow Mountains sounds, of course, like a He-Man location or a D&D location. There are Shadow Mountains, which are in California. I forget that California is like a lot of it is completely barren and no one lives there or goes there. But they are in the east.
Yeah, Northern California is where all the old hippies live now and are like still like running illegal drugs, and it's like dangerous to be there.
Well, the real Shadow Mountain is in the Mojave Desert, so I don't think that this is set there or meant to be set there. It feels like they just made it up because it sounds like cool and fantasy, and it was filmed in Belgium, which makes it feel really strange and not American.
Well, she also mentions in the gas station that her home is by Crystal Lake.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's like totally giving like, old fantasy books.
It really feels like a kid who grew up in the 80s with all of this stuff and all of those horror movies and all those fantasy books and games and heavy metal music, just like poured that out into like a tragic romance revenge thriller, and it fucking rocks to high heaven.
Yeah, it's
Panos has only made 2 features. He still hasn't made a feature since this, and it's been over 5 years.
Beyond the Black Rainbow.
I think we should note the short that he did for Guillermo del Toro.
Yes.
Oh, for
Beyond
the
the Black
Hulu
Rainbow
thing,
was his first feature, and then he did The Viewing as the last episode of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, which is the best of those by a mile.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Spoiler. What streamer is that for? I forget. Netflix. Okay. I should watch that. And
it's got an insane cast with Peter Weller and Eric Andre.
I remember you talking about it on the show when it came out.
It's very, very good. It's weird to me because Mandy was like a big cultural moment. When it came out, like in the horror space at least, when it came out, it was all I could hear about for like a year. It's all anyone was talking about. It was hard to see, weirdly, because even in LA, it wasn't getting a lot of screenings at the time. But like, I feel like merch and fandom like blew up really, really big by word of mouth, especially with it being on Shudder and stuff like that. So it's weird now looking back at it and revisiting it for the first time since 2018, 2019, and seeing like it's got pretty like divisive reviews on Letterboxd, even amongst like friends of mine. I've a lot of 1 stars, which is shocking.
That's shocking. I don't see that on my Letterboxd.
Literally last week I got a text from a friend of mine who also loves Mandy, who was like, I was just talking to a coworker and they hate Mandy. We need to discuss this. Like,
well,
it's wild.
The taste, I mean, that's why we have the show, right? I mean, the taste is not always up to par out there, you know what I mean? But it did premiere at Sundance, which gives it a certain amount of prestige, but it was a Shudder exclusive when it was distributed originally, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was released by RLJ, who has a deal with Shudder. So like RLJ put it in theaters, but like out here in LA, it was only at like the Santa Monica Lemley or something like that for like a weekend, and it was like good fucking luck. And so the first time that I saw it was like very shamefully on my phone.
Really?
That's like that was the only way I was able to watch it at the time. It wasn't until much later that it finally got theatrical screenings around.
Have you seen it since then?
No, the first time I saw it again was last night.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Like this was one of those movies that the first time I watched it, a few days later I turned around and watched it again. And I've probably watched it once or twice a year since then. Like
it's a movie I love so much that I treat it with kid gloves, that I'm like, I don't want to like overdo this. I'm that way with Suspiria. I'm that way with the Royal Tenenbaums. I'm that way with a few movies where I try to not overwatch them, but I definitely, like, 5 years has been too long on Mandy.
I saw this on Shudder when it first came out to streaming, and I love Shudder so much, and it's so beloved by the horror community, and it's such a great platform, but most general audiences don't really know about Shudder. So, like, the potential to see this, at least at that time, didn't seem like it had that much reach.
Yeah, it really did feel like an art house horror crossover at the time of, like, Hereditary coming out and Ari Aster's stuff, like, early stuff really blowing up. It really felt like it was reaching into that audience while also getting kind of the dudes that we know that are in, like, the kind of VHS collecting world that are obsessed with 80s slashers and stuff. Kind of got both of them excited at the same time. And I feel like it's the art house fans that have been the most let down by it, and they're fucking wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong.
That's wrong.
No, literally, any like objective opinion to like Mandy not being great is just wrong.
I feel like kind of in the same way that like Jennifer's Body has had a resurgence recently, had Mandy come out in 2018 with an A24 logo in front of it, there'd be a different conversation. Had Mandy gotten a physical release by the Criterion Collection, there'd be a different conversation around it. But it went on Shudder, it got a like kind of dinky RLJ Blu-ray, and it was just viewed as like another Nicolas Cage exploitation movie. But now we're post Pig, and like
I feel
Nicolas
like
Cage.
that's important to touch on because I feel like people discount Nicolas Cage a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like especially then.
And it's also before people had before Andrew Riseborough's like Oscar campaign last year that was like a big like controversy, before people started like giving her credit, because she's an outrageously talented actress. I mean, Please Baby Please alone deserves a fucking Oscar.
I feel like Nicolas Cage around this time, or just leading up to this, like people liked him in a way that was kind of mean-spirited and ironic.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, people that are like talking about what's National Treasure.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
So I think that this movie and Pig and some movies that he did afterwards kind of helped rehabilitate or helped him remind people that he is so talented, because he's so good in this.
Yeah, this really was like his big comeback movie, other than like Joe, but no one really saw Joe. Joe was like poised to be that. And then he did like 2 Paul Schrader movies that went nowhere. And then not a lot that people saw. Mandy truly was his big comeback. And then he got a lot of voiceover work in Spider-Man and Teen Titans Go. And then Call Outer Space and Prisoners of the Ghostland, Willy's Wonderland. And then it was really then Pig, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, Renfield, Dream Scenario.
But I feel like Mandy, especially for like the other films that you mentioned, Mandy is the one that set him up to be like a horror genre king. Like,
yeah, it's really cool. I'm really glad that happened for him. He's so extraordinary in this. Anything else to say about this movie before we move on?
I would say that if you have not seen Mandy and you've been on the fence about it, I would say give it a watch, give it your trust, give it your love. If you've seen Mandy before and you have a bad taste in your mouth about it, I would say it's been 5 years. Give it a new shot. Watch like an Ozu movie and then watch Mandy and you'll love it. I promise you.
Let's move on to Have They Seen It, the game where we speculate wildly whether notable figures have seen this movie. So the person that I think of when I hear the name Mandy is... So I've heard that this is this person's real name. This is Ellen DeGeneres' wife, Portia de Rossi. Is that her name? From Arrested Development. I've heard that her real name is Mandy something. It's like something crazy. Like
change it to Portia.
Yeah. Like Mandy Leibowitz or something, like something very
Portia
benign.
de Rossi.
Yeah. So do you think Portia de Rossi or Ellen, since we're talking about a married couple, do you think either of them have seen Mandy?
I'm gonna say no way in hell.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I highly doubt Ellen's seen Mandy.
Ellen's
she doesn't
for sure.
Seem like... No, I don't.
I would love to like chain her to a chair and give her the like Clockwork Orange eyes. And watch this film.
I don't think either of them are big into horror, especially not Ellen. Mm-hmm. Ellen gives me like House Hunters International HGTV energy.
Well, she hosted a furniture design show.
Yeah, there it is.
When it first came out. Yeah.
But I feel like of the two of them, Portia de Rossi probably would have the most like, oh, I've seen a Godard movie. I'm sure when they get their screeners at this time of year, Portia's the one watching the subtitled movies.
I don't know.
For sure.
They might be too like snubby for horror.
No, I just mean of art house movies, but I think both of them are like just not going to do horror. I think Portia's the only one who will watch, like, of the two of them, I think Portia's the only one who saw Parasite.
And loved it. I think she would love Parasite. I think she would love May December. You know what I mean? I think she could get into art house, but I think you're right about horror. Ellen, since we know that she's mean now, there's a part of me that thinks that secretly there's like a part of her that like goes into the garage and lifts weight to like Judas Priest music.
Yeah.
But I'm just maybe projecting, because that's what I do when I work out, is I listen to like Danzig and Judas Priest.
Oh my god, that's
She's
amazing.
living the life. She doesn't need to see Mandy.
No, that's true.
She is red. If anything happened to Portia, she would lose her shit.
Vengeance. Do you have anyone, Drusilla?
Well, now that you mentioned, this is such a heavy metal movie, and speaking of great heavy metal icons, do you think that Rob Halford from Judas Priest has seen
Yeah.
Mandy?
I think so.
And
I'm gonna say I hope so.
I fucking hope so. He's such a
think he would
leather daddy
love it.
too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow that up with a second one because Mandy wears the Shout at the Devil shirt. Do you think that Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue has seen Mandy?
I think so, because I think someone would have sent him a text about it, don't you?
You just wanted to bring up Motley Crue.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, my sister Karma, her name is. This is what my hippie parents. This is my bona fides. My sister's name is Karma, my older sister, and she was like the world's biggest Motley Crue fan when I was a little kid. She had like the giant teased hair and the acid wash jeans, and like I wonder if she's seen this. Yeah, she was incredible fashion plate for me growing up.
Oh my god. I mean, my first concert was Motley Crue, and my second concert was Motley Crue. So,
when I've talked about this on the show before, but I don't remember how long ago. When I met Rachel Talalay, who produced Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I was like, level with me. Like, did you guys know that was really gay? And she was like, no, I promise. We just thought we were doing like a Rob Halford, Judas Priest, like leather version of Nightmare on Elm Street. And I was like, Rob Halford is gay. And she's like, well, I know that now. But we didn't
That is one of my
then.
favorite like twists in like pop culture history is
I
everyone
know.
just being like, this is tough. No, this is a gay uniform. Like,
Or it's like, it is tough, but it's tough and gay, which is the
it's
best
tough
kind
and gay. Yes,
of best
exactly.
kind of gay, I think. Ivory, do you have anyone in mind for Have They Seen It?
Do you think Mandy Moore has seen this film?
no.
No, but I have some genuine affection for Mandy Moore.
Mandy Moore's very talented, very
she's
funny.
a very good actor. I watched This Is Us for like 4 episodes, but I had to bounce because it was too like sentimental for me, obviously. But it was so campy. The parts that are set in the present when she's like an old lady makeup and she's the grandma. I was like, what is this show? How is this the most popular show on television?
And honestly, the shows that get that popular are always so baffling to me. I'm like, wait, people watch this? Like,
That's the thing. Everyone's taste is baffling. It's just totally bizarre. There's also like a fat character that gets into a romance with a fat man, and everyone loves that for her. But the fat man is played by a thin actor, I was told, who's like in a fat suit. It's like,
what?
You've done all of this to like be progressive towards fat issues. Like, just hire a fat actor.
Hire an actor.
I worked on a show recently that I'm not going to name that's out, and it's been out for seasons, and like it exists, where like one of the characters of the ensemble is like her whole like personality is that she's the fat one, and she's like, that's a lot of her character arc, is that she like wants to be a performer and actor, like, and she has to deal with like body positivity issues and like fat phobia from casting directors and stuff like that, and then like midway through the show she like had surgery and like is now like significantly thinner, but those plot lines are still going. And I was like, what are we doing here, folks?
Yeah,
this is insane.
Ooh.
You're like being like, oh, body positivity like champion, and then like what's happening?
Well, I mean, I'm not
this.
part of this conversation, so I've only seen it sort of like tangentially, but I know that Ozempic and the popularity of Ozempic has caused a lot of like identity conversations amongst fat people. And because there's like a pressure to take it, right?
Well, Ozempic is like fucking
objectively a drug made for diabetic
people. Yeah.
And
it also has pretty severe side effects.
Do not have access to the medicine that they need
yeah.
because of this trend. It's really wild.
And people are like, yeah, I think you were saying, having horrible side effects and like horrible intestinal issues and like esophageal and like mouth related issues. And they're like trying to like sue Ozempic, and it's like, this taking it for this reason's fucking amoral and evil and vile to begin with. And also, do you think the creator of Ozempic has seen Mandy?
I don't know who that is, but I think they're probably truly like a Mr. Burns type.
Do you think Mr. Burns has seen Mandy?
Oh my god.
I think he would kind of like the heavy metal
I think he would
aspect of
love
it,
it.
to be honest.
I think he would dig it.
I think he would love it.
But
I think he would see himself as Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And Burns is Smithers is Mandy.
Yeah.
But like, there's that Simpsons episode where he's like watching cartoons with Bart and he's like laughing entirely too hard at Itchy and Scratchy when one of them gets maimed. I feel like he'd be laughing his ass off at Mandy.
He would find it to be a comedy.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Well, thank you so much, Ivory, for joining us. Where can people?
Thanks for having me.
Where can people
Thank you
follow
for coming on after I've talked about you on this podcast for
now
like
you're
a
gonna
year
go
and a
into
half.
like
I'm real. She wasn't lying.
the other room.
Yeah, he's been in the other room listening to half of the conversations of this podcast all the time.
I know.
But I only get to hear your part though, so I'm always like,
Oh, that's cute.
She's very
Joel would
speculative
never-
of the awful things that Josh says about me all the time.
you're always laughing, so.
Yeah.
Joel would never do that.
No.
Joel actually does listen to the podcast, but he turns it off when we start talking about the movie.
He used to listen
likes
to
the
it a lot
banter.
more.
Funny.
But now that now that I live here, it's like a little weird to play your
Yeah.
own podcast audibly.
I respect that.
Thank you, Ivory. Where can people follow you if you want them to?
I have Instagram. It's Ivory X Woods, and also have Letterboxd. I think it's just Ivory Woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
That's all.
It's
Drusilla.
great. You have better reviews than I do on Letterboxd. So yeah.
But I also
don't-
only follow like 3 people.
I don't
and 2
try
of them
very
are in the
hard.
room.
I don't try very hard on Letterboxd. I don't give
No,
it much
I mean, I
energy.
don't try hard, but that was my New Year's resolution last year, was to start one because you encouraged me to do so. And it's nice. I use it more like a diary to try to like remember, my favorite parts of like certain films and things like
It's
that.
like
It's
a
handy.
good version of Goodreads, which Goodreads is so terrible. But like, if Goodreads were exactly like Letterboxd, but for books, I would be so into it. Because Letterboxd is
But now
so
Letterboxd is
peaceful.
talking about doing TV.
Well, they're not talking about it. They've decided they're
gonna
doing
do
it. Yeah.
Oh, well,
I
I
don't
might
like that. There goes
unsubscribe.
David.
Truly. I do not need to see that, like, a friend of mine from Facebook that I haven't seen in 17 years is, like, rewatching Friends for the 5th time.
Watching Young Sheldon.
Or me rewatching Project Runway from 15 years ago. Nobody needs to hear about that.
Yeah, no, you don't post about that publicly.
No.
Like, Danny is always rewatching her Love Islands from Australia and whatever. She does not need to log that on Letterboxd. That's like a
No.
depression show. We don't need this.
We don't need to know. Drusilla, where
Okay.
can people follow you?
Letterboxd. If you look for Drusilla Adeline or Sister Hyde, you'll find me. You can also find my art, and some prints are available over at sisterhydedesign.com. And if you go to Instagram and type in Hyde Sister, you'll find me. What about you, Josh? Where do you lurk out in the woods at night?
I'm at Joshua Conkle on Blue Sky, Letterboxd, and Instagram. You can email the show too at bloodhousepod@gmail.com. Tell us about therapy things or anything really.
Or how
we'd
great
love to hear
Mandy
you.
is.
Yeah, how great Mandy is, or how much you love heavy metal. Anything. At bloodhousepod@gmail.com. What are we watching next week?
Next week, we are staying within this century. I promise we don't always just do 70s movies, but they just rock a lot.
They're just so good.
We will be watching the Gothic, the Spooky, and the recently restored 2001 Nicole Kidman banger, The Others.
I can't wait. I haven't seen that since 2001, and I really liked it, so I'm excited to watch it
Me
again.
neither.
I have never seen it, so I'm very excited.
You're in for a treat. All right. Thanks. See you next week, everyone. Bye.